Good morning from sunny Atlanta, Georgia. That's Maggie right there. I'm going to be reading her a story this morning. I hope that you'll enjoy hearing the story too. Let's get into this awesome book. This book, upside down, it's called Bear and Fred. And I'm planning to read this to you guys at least once a week. Not this book, but this book and other books to you all at least once a week because I want to help all of the families that are at home with their kids and are not used to reading to them, or they just want to have somebody else in the mix. So here we go. Bear and Fred, a World War II story. This book has some beautiful illustrations. See that? Beautiful illustrations. There's Bear. The author of this book is Iris Argaman, and the illustrator, the person that draws all the pictures, that's Avi Ofer. It's always important to know who made the book, so you can look for more of their books. Bear and Fred, a World War II story. Prologue, that just means before you start. Prologue. I am in a box all alone. It is dark and I am cold. Suddenly, I hear voices calling out, "Be gentle, careful." And then the box opens. I hear rustling and murmurs. Above me, someone is removing layers and layers of wrapping paper. See that? They're taking something out of that box there. They're looking in the box. There's a burst of light. The golden sun sends its long rays to caress my fur. Now I feel nice and warm. The sun tickles my eyes. I open one eye and then the other. I'm surrounded by so many people. A kind woman gathers me up in her arms and hugs me. Teardrops trickle down her face. A large man stands off to the side and says, "I've been hauling that huge carton around in my truck for miles, and for what? Just a small and tattered teddy bear?" First, everyone was so excited, and now they're all crying. What on earth is going on here? I don't understand what is going on either, the kind woman whispers to me. "Hello, Fred's bear. Welcome to Jerusalem. You're finally here." Isn't he cute? There's Bear again. Many years ago, in a faraway land called Holland, in a city named Delft, I was Fred's teddy bear. I never had a name. Fred never gave me one. I lived in his bedroom with other toys. I was a happy bear. Little Fred loved me more than any other toy. He took me everywhere he went. We did everything together. And at night, when he snuggled under the blankets, I would sleep next to him on his pillow and dream alongside his dreams. One winter day, Fred and I took a walk. He held me in his gloved hand, and I peeked out at the streets we always visited. But the streets were almost empty. Very few people were outside, and everyone looked sad. See all of those people? And see Fred and his bear? Suddenly, I heard fierce barking. A big black dog ran towards us. He almost bit Fred's little hand, but at the last minute, he sank his teeth into me. I was scared. His teeth were long and sharp, and he wouldn't let me go. The dog whipped me around with a shake of his head and finally dropped me on the sidewalk. Little Fred picked me up, brushed off my fur, and whispered, "My poor bear, don't be sad. I still love you even if your head wobbles." See the dog? See the dog and Fred? And the bear? Poor bear. See my dog? She likes to tear up her bear too. She has her own bear. So, time passed. I sat on the windowsill. A cold wind was blowing. Brown leaves swirled in the air. Then it started to rain. Fred told me that meant it was autumn. See all the leaves? When you see leaves like that turning brown and orange and red, that means it's autumn. There's Fred and his family, and there's the bear. Let's find out what they're talking about. Mama, Papa, Fred, and his brothers drank tea at the big table in the dining room. I heard sipping and the clink of teaspoons in their cups. No one spoke. Usually there was lots of laughter around the table. Papa would play his music for us. But that afternoon, things were different. There was a soft knock on the door. I felt that something bad was about to happen. Papa's friend came in and warned us that in a few minutes, people would come and force us to leave our home. See how sad everybody looks. Then I heard a lot of noise. Furniture moving, drawers opening, heels tapping, and voices talking. Mama said, "Children, we are leaving home, and I don't know when we will return. Put on your coats. We'll pretend that we're going for a walk." I was scared that Fred would leave me in the house. I wasn't used to being alone. Fred always kept me close by. The door opened and then slammed shut. Silence. Fred had forgotten me. Oh no. Maggie likes the story too. Look, she's listening. Then I heard the door open again. I felt Fred's small hand grab me. He patted me and whispered, "Bear, I won't leave you here all by yourself. You're my best friend." He put me into his knapsack and I let out a sigh of relief. Fred did not forget me. I sat in Fred's knapsack. The knapsack swung back and forth. It was dark inside. I listened to the footsteps as they became louder and faster. Whew. B. After that, I heard knocking. Someone opened their door. I knew this voice. It was one of Papa's friends from the orchestra. From inside the knapsack, I could hear everyone sitting down to eat. And then Mama said, "We must find a hiding place. We can't let them find us. Why did we have to hide? What did we do?" When everyone had gone to bed, Fred took me out of the knapsack and held me close. He couldn't fall asleep. He tossed and turned and squashing me a little bit each time he rolled over. A long time passed until finally he hugged me tight and fell asleep. "Fred, we're going to Amsterdam," Mama said. Fred threw me up in the air and shouted, "We're going to Grandpa." Then Mama said, "Fred, only you will stay with Grandpa. It's too dangerous for all of us to hide there together." Fred stopped throwing me up in the air. I saw how sad he looked. "Don't be sad. It will only be for a short time. Then we'll all be together again," said Mama. Fred and I loved Grandpa. He always played with us, and we had lots of fun together. I also liked walking down the busy streets of Amsterdam, and I remembered going to a nearby park that had a lake with ducks. So there's Fred in the train. We took the train north, Mama and Fred and I. Mama told Fred not to speak, but he whispered to me, "Don't worry." He sat me on his lap so I could look out the window. I watched the houses rush past. I looked at the bright blue sky with specks of clouds, gray and white. Look at that beautiful sky. All blue today and sunny. And many other bursts of color that all blended into one. In the end, I fell asleep. I awoke to the sound of a loud horn. "We are here." Grandpa opened the door and rushed us inside. After a few minutes, Mama said, "Fred, I have to leave. I have to hide too. Right now, You have to take care of yourself. Never tell anyone where you are from or who you are. You must keep this secret. I promise I'll be back soon." I didn't understand. Why did Fred have to keep secrets about himself? Why couldn't he tell anyone who he was? Did he do something bad? Fred held me very tightly, clutched me between his hands. A tear rolled down his cheek and dampened my fur. "My Fred, don't be sad. Everything will work out in the end," whispered Mama. Then she asked, "Is there anything I can do for you before I leave?" There's Fred with his grandpa. "Yes," said Fred. "I want you to fix Bear's head. It wobbles and I'm afraid it will fall off." Mama cut out a piece of material from the inner pocket of Fred's gray coat and sewed me a new head. Then she connected it to my little body and used a red thread to embroider my eyes, nose, and mouth. I almost looked like a regular teddy bear again. Fred was happy. After Mama left, Fred and I stood in front of the large mirror. I saw my reflection and it frightened me. My head was grayish-brown and my body was brown. I thought I looked strange. Fred put me down in the corner of the room and barely played with me after that. I was sad. Once he even forgot me on the windowsill. I looked outside and saw the entire street covered in white. One morning, I woke up and saw Grandpa sewing a yellow star on Fred's gray coat. See all the snow? See the snowman? Everybody's playing in the snow. When we went out to play in the snow, Fred built a snowman with his friends and then put me on the snowman's head. Everyone laughed. As the children played, I noticed that almost all of them wore yellow stars, just like Fred. See the yellow stars on their jackets? One day, Mama showed up. She was angry at Grandpa. "Why did you sew a yellow star onto his clothes? It's dangerous." "It is more dangerous without the star," Grandpa answered. I looked at Grandpa and saw that he was worried. "We are leaving Grandpa's house," Mama said, and she ripped the yellow star off Fred's coat. Fred cried, "I want to stay here," he insisted, and did not want to leave either. I was afraid that Fred would forget me, but he gathered up his hat and gloves, his notebook and colored pencils, and then he stuffed me into the knapsack too. That made me very happy, even though it was crowded inside. It was dark and uncomfortable, but I was too scared to notice. Mama said that we were going somewhere else, but she didn't say where. My head was full of thoughts and questions. We walked for a long time. I pressed my ear against the knapsack and tried to listen to what was going on outside. I heard only footsteps. See, Maggie's still listening. Are you still listening? Suddenly, a door creaked open. Mama said, "Hello, we're a family from the South. Our house flooded after the dam nearby was blown up. My husband is very ill and I have to look for a new home. Can my son stay here with you until we get settled?" I didn't understand why Mama made up that lie. "Oh, come in," answered a woman. I didn't recognize her voice. Fred pulled me out of the knapsack and sat me down in his lap. We didn't move for a long time. Mama and the woman spoke quietly in the corner of the room. Finally, Mama came over to Fred and said, "My boy, I'm going now, and you're going to stay with this nice lady." Mama, I don't want to stay alone. Why are you leaving me with strangers? I'm scared." "My Fred, it's hard for me to leave you, but I don't have a choice. I promise you that I will be back. And you are not alone. You have Bear." At that moment, I understood. I had to take care of Fred. Fred and I stood by the window and waved goodbye to Mama until her figure became a small dot and finally disappeared. From then on, Fred never left me. I usually sat in his pants pocket or the inner pocket of his coat. We never left the house. We hardly even peeked out at the street through the corner of the window. If I knew how to talk, I would have asked Fred to take me outside for a walk. I didn't like being closed up inside the house. There's Maggie. She's listening too. See? One day a boy came over. He looked close to Fred's age. They built a tower out of blocks and played with it and played with little tin soldiers. I heard them laughing when the boy asked Fred, "Where are you from? Where are your parents? Why are you here all by yourself?" Fred remained silent. I knew that he was keeping the secret. Every night, Fred would whisper to me that he missed Papa, Mama, and his brothers. That it was sad being all alone. That it was sad being all alone. Oops, sometimes adults make mistakes when they read too, but you just try to do your best and keep going. It was sad being all alone. The world was a scary place, and he was lucky to have me because I was his best friend. Fred whispered these things, and as he spoke, he took my paw and stroked his face with it. Sometimes small hot tears rolled down Fred's cheeks, and I wiped them away. I think Maggie likes the story. What do you think? The winter passed. The gray clouds floated off to other places, and the trees all turned green. One day I heard shouts of joy. "The war is over! The war is over!" Fred picked me up off the rug, hugged me, and whispered, "My bear, soon Mama and Papa will come and get us. Don't worry, they didn't forget us." One night, the door opened, and into the house stepped Mama and Papa. We're all so happy. Fred laughed and cried and hugged them tightly. He gathered all his belongings and packed them in his knapsack. This time he held on to me with one hand as we left. We traveled to a small village. There we joined Fred's brothers. We became a family again. Let's see what happens now. Oh, see the pretty green tree? We took walks for hours and hours in the forest and in the fields. Fred picked leaves and flowers, and sometimes we'd climb a tree and sit on a branch way up high. I loved sitting there, listening to the birds sing, watching the sun play with the leaves, and looking out at the horizon. Fred told me stories about faraway lands, castles, and knights. He also told me that the world wasn't such a scary place anymore. See that? Things are better now. No more hiding. Okay, now here's the epilogue. That just means it's the part that happens after the story. When the war ended, we left Holland and moved to America. Fred grew up, he got married, and had 2 children of his own, but he never abandoned me. One day a woman called Fred and said, "Hello, Fred, my name is Yehudit. I live in Israel and work at the Yad Vashem Museum. I heard about the story of your bear and it really touched my heart. Would you agree to lend your bear to our museum in Jerusalem so that children could learn about your story?" Look at that. Fred answered, "Bear and I have never been separated. We have always been together, but I will ask him." Fred held me in both of his hands and said, "Bear, we've been together for as long as I can remember. You are my very best friend. You watched over me in hard times. Are you willing to go?" I agreed. There's Fred when he was going to America in the boat, and there's Fred when he's an adult talking to Bear. Okay, so that's the end of the story, and there are other parts here in this great book where they speak directly to the children that are reading the story, and a note from the author of the book. And again, her name is Iris Argaman. Beautifully illustrated book and a wonderful and very important story that includes some real history about World War II. Please leave a comment and let me know if this was a blessing to you and your family and your children. Thanks for listening. My name is Donna Marie Johnson of butterflyhomeschool.com. butterflyhomeschool.com.